Assalamu alaikum. Today I'm going to bring you my top 10 list of the most anticipated games of 2022. Now, this list is going to be based upon only the games that have been announced, or at least there is some kind of information available. There will be many more Kickstarters that will be coming. There will be many more games like Stonemaier Games, Board and Dice are expected to bring new games to the market, which we are not even aware of. So, this list cannot contain all of those games, but at least those games that we know are going to come, that's what this list is based on. That these are my most anticipated games. Now I've split it into two categories. These are Euro games and non-Euro games. The definitions are kind of loose because these days the game developers are mixing these mechanisms so much that it's really hard to put a game in one category. But ideally, what I've tried to do is that Euro games are where you're going to do some kind of resource exchange and there is less player interaction, whereas the non-Euro games are more fighty, Ameritrash type, luck-based, dice-based games, and that's what the non-Euro category is. These are not purely Ameritrash games, but have some kind of element of luck, and that's why they are in the Ameritrash range or non-Euro category. Of course, before I start the top 10, there are going to be some complimentary mentions. First of all, is going to be ThunderRoad Vandetta. Now, this is actually an older game which is being brought back by Restoration Games, who always does that they pick up an old game and try to modernize the mechanisms and then bring them to market. ThunderRoad Vandetta was supposed to come in 2021, but the Kickstarter was cancelled due to some issues, design issues about it. But the theme is going to be about racing in a Mad Max like road rash, car battle kind of game, which is very exciting to me. So I'm very fascinated by racing games, and this one was no different. There have been few road battle kind of games as well. I'm most interested in this one, but due to the cancellation of the previous Kickstarter, I'm not sure if they will make the 2022 release still or not, because they had to go back to the drawing board. So let's see. That's why it's in the again complimentary or additional section rather than in the top 10. The next one is going to be Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire has no information other than just a box cover. Even the screenshot that you see right now is actually from the video game on which it is based. Slay the Spire is a very famous, actually a deck builder, but available for PC. It's not an actual card game. It's a card game on PC, but it's very famous, and now it's being brought into the actual card board and card game form. Why it was never brought previously is because of the evolution of cards. There is kind of an legacy element or evolution element to these cards as you gain powers and things like that, and I would love to see that in a board game as well. And let's see how they deal with this subject matter in the actual board and cards form. But again, what I expect is why it's not in the top 10, because I think they might be only able to announce the Kickstarter this year, but they will not be delivering the game itself in 2022. That's why it's not on the list. The last one is going to be a similar one. My complimentary mention, it's going to be Last Light, which is a game by Roy Kennedy of Dice Tower. It is a 4X game which is compressed into around an hour of playtime. It has these 3D floating planets. You will be exploring, exploiting, fighting for these resources and gaining these resources. In the Last Light, this space exploration game is going to come out from Grey Fox Games, and again it is expected that the Kickstarter, well, it is sure Kickstarter is going to be launched very soon, but its delivery might be delayed till 2022. So that's why it's not on the actual 2022 list. Now, with all these complimentary mentions of the games that I'm anticipating, out of the way, which I don't think I will be even able to get in 2022. Let's get on with the games which I might be able to get in 2022. On number 10 is going to be Primal the Awakening. Now, this was kickstarted successfully last year. This is kind of a monster hunter world where you're fighting big giant monsters. All the players are fighting together to actually bring down one giant monster. In my collection, I have many fighting games or Ameritrash games, but I don't have any kind of Monster Hunter games, which were a big thing in 2021 on Kickstarter. There were many of those games, but I think Primal is the one which I think suits me the most or is attractive the most to me with the type of monsters that it has, the type of mechanism it has. So I'm keeping a keen eye on this one, Primal the Awakening. On number 9 is going to be Arydia, the Paths We Dare Dread. Dread? Dread. Uh, it's a difficult name to pronounce, Arydia. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It's from the developer of Zaya. Now, Zaya was also a 4X grand space exploration game. You're doing pick up and deliver. Now, that developer has not done many games since then. And Arydia is going to be set in a fantasy world. It's going to be a table hog. It's going to be sprawling as expected from him. And that excites me because an adventure world grounded in a fantasy world is more close to my heart than space fantasy. So that's why I want to see that how stories are going to evolve, how different adventures you can go. And these come with poppable heads. You can change your miniatures. You can customize your miniatures in this one as well. So that's Arydia. On number 8 is going to be Oathsworn Into the Deepwood. This was on my anticipated list of 2021 as well. Again, a typical kind of Ameritrash game, fighting monsters, things like that, but in a deep, dark world. But the game never got released in 2021, so 2022 is a hopeful year when Oathsworn is finally get to be released. But with the branching narrative storylines, that's the plus point, because if it's just pure Ameritrash, I might not be attracted. I already have enough of those zombicide and those games. But you need to bring something else as well. And this one brings the narrative choices which are going to change the story. And that excites me. Number 7 is going to be Vagrantsong. This game was, I think, reviewed by some of the reviewers in 2021, got a lot of buzz, but the thing is the game is actually going to be released in 2022. Only few early copies were given to reviewers in 2021 and they all were very pumped up about it. It has a very weird kind of theme. It's set in old 1920s cartoon kind of world, Betty Boop, Cuphead kind of artwork, where everyone is ghost on the train and you are trying to restore their humanity. So instead of fighting and killing them, you're trying to actually evoke, by fighting, you're trying to evoke their memories so that their humanity returns. So it is again a fighting Ameritrash kind of game, but with a very unique theme, and it's a campaign based game all set on that train, which is going to present different scenarios and thus going to present a longer life than normal games to me. On number 6 is going to be Plunderous. Now, this game was supposed to come out last year and I was not excited about it last year. Why? Because it was supposed to be a 4X pirate theme game. I love 4X. I love pirate themes, and still it didn't make my list because it was promised as an alternate to something like Twilight's Imperium, Twilight Struggle, Twilight Imperium, where you have a 4-5 hour game and you are just playing hours and hours or a whole day, just one game. That's not really what I'm looking for. So the developers Kickstarter didn't succeed as well. due to similar kind of feedback as well. And that's why they have gone back to the drawing board, and it has been under development for more than a year now. Again, they are trying to reduce the game length, they are trying to streamline many of the mechanisms. It supports co-op mode, solo mode now, and many other changes are coming. It has Demiko art, which looks beautiful. You might have seen that kind of artwork in Architects of West Kingdom, and that artwork looks very fascinating with the pirate theme. Reminds me of Raiders of North Sea. So I'm now more attracted to this project than before, considering that they will be reducing the timeline to something like 45 minutes per play. Let's see. The next one on number 5 is going to be Return to Dark Tower. This is again another remake by Restoration Games, where this game was an olden time games where you had a giant tower in the center around the board, and you will throw skulls in it, and at random times this device, the tower, is going to throw skulls out at different areas, the threat on the board at different random locations. It is app assisted. The Bluetooth is going to force the narrative forward, give different kind of missions, threats will appear, and you never know what the tower is going to do at different times. And that kind of surprises that come in a game, who doesn't like surprises? So that's fascinating. The only thing that's I'm slightly hesitant is that maybe the tower will obscure my view of the board on the other side. But other than that, I really like the project. It's not going to be a cheaper game, but it is something that I really do want to experience. So that's Return to Dark Tower. On number 4 is going to be a sequel to Seventh Continent. It's called the Seventh Citadel. Seventh Continent was a sprawling adventure game where you will use cards to make a map and explore. You can go anywhere you want. You can take notes. You will try to remember things that happened from adventure to adventure. That last time we went down the hill, something bad happened. So this time around, let's not go there. Similar thing they are bringing to a more gamerified version in 7th Citadel. At least that's what the promise. So there will be more combat in a fantasy universe. So other than just the exploration, the gameplay has been enhanced in 7th Citadel. That's why I'm more attracted to 7th Citadel now, more than 7th Continent, even though the theme of 7th Continent of being stranded on an island in the realistic world was more appealing to me. But now the fantasy world, because of the gameplay enhancements, is more attractive to me. So that's why I'm excited about 7th Citadel. On number 3 is going to be Marvel Zombies, a zombicide game. Now people will say that, a zombicide game, everyone who plays zombicide buys every zombicide game. Not me. I have only one zombicide game, Zombicide Invader, and I have in a similar family, I have Cthulhu Death May Die, even though it's not the same game. But that's it. I don't play all the zombicide games because I go through these zombicide games and then see that really is it a different thing from what I already have. If it's just different, then I don't take it. I need something substantially different to actually be attracted to it. And Marvel Zombies looks that way, because now you get to be the kind of a bad guy, the zombie who is eating the humans because of their hunger to gain powers. And that's a unique thing. As well as there will be a normal mode available where you get to play the superheroes who are still unaffected and get to fight the baddies, which are the hungry superheroes. So the theme seems kind of far enough or different enough that it is going to present different scenarios in a different way. And it's inspired by that What If episode. If you have seen, well, there is a whole Marvel Zombies comic book series from which it is inspired, but I think this will be kicked off more because there is a new Disney Plus series coming which is just going to focus on the Marvel Zombies universe. And that's really going to push this game further and further. On number two is going to be a game which has recently been released, which is called Familiar Tales. Familiar Tales is a game from Jerry Hawthorne, who made previous games like Mice and Mistakes and Aftermath. I loved Aftermath, where you have adventure books and you have different mice that are actually crossing these paths in the adventure book. The book itself becomes the playmat. So on every page, you have a different gameplay mat rather than standard board. So you get different artwork, different theme, different objectives to complete. Plus, you used a hand of poker hands to play your cards. But in Familiar Tales, now the theme is going to be that you are using deck building mechanism instead of poker hands to fight against the baddies that come in this. The theme is something like a Disney princess story where the baby, a princess, has been handed over to the four animal familiars, and they are the protectors of that baby until she grows. So how that baby grows is up to how you take care of her. So there can be branching story. Plus, it adds the beautiful narrative that we got to see in games like Forgotten Waters. And I just love the narrative in Forgotten Waters. So if it can hold up to the narrative level of Forgotten Waters, then that would have been enough. But combining it with the fun that I had while playing Aftermath, so Aftermath plus Forgotten Waters equals Familiar Tales to me. And that's a win-win formula for my family. And that's why it's on number two. On number one, it can be nothing else but Frosthaven. My wife and me love Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. I never bought the Gloomhaven big box, the normal box, whatever you want to call it, because my entry point in the series was the Gloomhaven looked too daunting and the tiles looked too plain, whereas the setup looked too daunting as well. Whereas Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion looked promising. But that gave me enough push to be interested in Frosthaven. And that's why it's on my number one list that I'm excited. Frosthaven. And let's see that when it hits retail, I will be able to get a copy, because I didn't back it on Kickstarter because of just the shipping rates for Kickstarters is not really a viable thing for me from where I live. But I would surely be interested in getting a retail copy once it hit retail stores, because just the amount of content, and I love campaign games. I play all of them. I finish all of them. So if I get Frosthaven, it is getting finished. Let's see. So that's my number one, Frosthaven. So that's my top 10 non-Euro. Well, people will say Frosthaven, Gloomhaven is a Euro as well. Well, you're still fighting. You're still picking up a random card. So to me, fighting game is good enough to be a non-Euro. So let's leave it at that. Again, as I said, many of these games can be put in any category. So do keep a lookout for my next video, which will come next week, in which I will be telling you my top 10 most anticipated Euro kind of games. Not purely Euro, but Euro kind of games. But as of now, hope you enjoyed this list. And if you have not heard of any of these games, do check them out, and maybe they will make your top 10 list, or you will get excited about them and you get to follow them or follow their development journey. And you might find something surprising for yourself as well. That's it for me. If you found this information informative, entertaining, whatever, don't forget to subscribe and like. Happy gaming!